Of the economists we surveyed here at Bloomberg, no one expected that unemployment would spike this high. Our next guest had, though, the closest estimate. He predicted 10.1%. He is Bandholz at UniCredit Research. So, Harm, this number, 10.2%, a little bit above what you were expecting, but not a surprise to you, the number that actually we got.
Yeah, that's actually correct. I mean, the problem that we have right now is while the pace of layoffs is slowing down gradually, as we see in the initial jobless claims, companies are still reluctant to hire. And so with an ongoing high number of layoffs and no additional hirings, it is no surprise that the unemployment rate keeps on rising. Is
it surprised, though, that we've got discouraged workers, 808,000 discouraged workers? That's 2 times the rate that we had last year. Does that worry you?
Yeah, so first of all, I think it's not really surprising if you see that the average duration of unemployment has just marked a new record high of 26.9 weeks. So it shows you that people just have a very hard time finding new jobs, and after a while they're just giving up looking for it. I mean, is it worrisome? Yes, of course it is worrisome. And I mean, the decline in the civilian labor force was just mentioned. This makes actually the true situation even worse. I mean, if it were not for the decline in the labor force in September and October, the unemployment rate would be now at 10.5% instead of 10.2%.
You know, that's an interesting point, Harm. On November 4th, there was a press release that came out from the Bureau of Labor Statistics that said there'll be a statistical fluke between September and October, which will tend to skew it towards the higher side. Can you find any kind of silver lining or explain to us why they're saying that?
I mean, I think actually what happened in October was the other way around. I expected that we see a partial reversal of the decline in the labor force in October, which would have lifted the unemployment rate, as I said, even more. So this, I'm sure it will come in November or December, because, yes, there are more discouraged workers, but not usually you don't see any decline in the labor force at this scale. I mean, the labor force shrank by 600,000 people in September and October, and I really don't think that this is the true fundamental situation. I think it's more statistical fluke, and we'll see a partial reversal of that in the next months, which would lead to a further significant increase in the unemployment rate.
Harm, with the average weekly hours holding basically steady at 33, at what point do retailers make the decision to give employees more hours on the road to seeing, obviously, new jobs created?
Yeah, this is a good question. I mean, usually if you look at history, it's the first thing that we see is that that employers start increasing the average hours worked. So this has not happened. Actually, hours worked were down in September, and they're flat in October. So unless we see a rebound or an increase in the average number of hours worked, we should not really look for an increase in employment. So this is the leading indicator that we look at when we want to see whether the labor market has, in fact, bottomed out, but we are obviously pretty far away from that.
You know, there are 9.2 million temporary workers, or so we're told by the estimates. Is that likely to grow before we see full-time people hired?
Absolutely. So this is, if you want, the only bright spot in the whole report. There were about 34,000. There was an increase of 34,000 in temporary workers. I mean, it makes sense for companies if you're doubtful about the sustainability of the recovery. You don't want to hire regular workers. You start with some temporary workers, and then if you figure out that the recovery is sustainable, you start up hiring again. So therefore, temporary workers are usually a pretty good leading indicator for what's going on.
Hey, Harm, we can't let you go without getting your forecast. You were the most accurate economist that we surveyed in terms of the unemployment rate. So tell me, what do you expect for next month?
Well, next month we have a problem with seasonals, because we go into the holiday shopping season, and so then the seasonals expect retailers to hire 570,000 people in November and December. And with a bleak outlook for the holiday season, I mean, the Retail Federation expects a decline in sales. Those 570,000 people won't be hired, so seasonals are going to weigh on payrolls next month. So there will be probably a gradual improvement, but it will still be around 150,000. So this is my best guess from now.
5 seconds, though. Could the unemployment rate go up as much? Go up higher next month?
Absolutely.
Okay, going to leave it there. Hey, Harm.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was quick and short. We appreciate it. Harm joining us on the phone there.